Welcome back, everyone, to the last part of the finals of the SET Tech Award in 2021. So this morning we've had 9 companies in 3 categories pitching for 3 of these beautiful awards that are standing over here. And now we have the final 2 categories, so 6 companies, competing for the last 2 of these awards. So each award represents 10,000 euros of prize money. And eternal fame and glory, because you're getting a lot of attention from this huge audience that is watching and that was gathered by the German Energy Agency, DENA, and the World Energy Council, who have co-organized this conference. So very excited to hear these last 2 categories. So the first category that we will, well, first I'll briefly introduce myself for the ones that were not here in the first half of the pitch sessions. So my name is Julia Padberg, and I am a principal at SET Ventures, which is a European venture capital fund based in Amsterdam. And we invest in the energy system transition. So since 2007, we have invested in companies that are accelerating the energy system transition, including some of the companies that have participated in this competition in the past, like FlexiDAO and Instagrid, and also a few other companies like Zonnen and Greenflux, to name 2 examples. So hopefully there will be many more future investments of us in this pitch competition. So we'll see about that. So the first category of this afternoon is demand-side innovation, which is obviously another great bottleneck that needs to be fixed for enabling the energy system transition. So the first company that will be pitching in this category comes all the way from Australia. And they are making solar energy available to people living in apartment blocks. So that is, of course, a huge impact. So please welcome Jack Taylor of Allume.
Thanks. Thank you. Hi, my name's Jack Taylor, and today I'm going to be talking about how the Sol Share is unlocking solar for apartment buildings. Rooftop solar is booming, and it's clear to see why. Millions of households across the world are lowering their carbon footprint and reducing their electricity bills by installing solar on the roof. But because a traditional solar system can only be connected to an individual meter, apartments have been left behind, with only really 2 substandard solutions for including solar. The first is including solar and connecting it to the common light and power, which provides 0 benefit to the apartments. The second is multiple individual systems, each connected to an individual apartment. What this means is that the individual systems quickly takes up a lot of space and is quickly infeasible on larger apartment buildings. This is a massive problem, and is why practically no apartments across the world have solar connected to them. And when you think that over 40% of Europeans live in apartments, this is a massive problem with the renewable energy transition. Put simply, if we're going to reach net zero, we need a solution to apartment solar. Allume was founded to create this solution, and we've done so with the Sol Share. The Sol Share is the world's only hardware to connect apartments to a shared rooftop solar system. This award-winning technology is fully commercialized, and we have offices in the USA, Europe, and Australia, where we were founded. The Sol Share shares the power generated from an individual solar system to multiple apartments behind the meter. Because it shares the power behind the meter, it has low regulatory overhead, which means that we're able to scale into new geographies easily. It's proven with installations across multiple continents, and it does a really great job at reducing the carbon footprint and electricity bills of apartments. And all of this can come at a cost as little as 1,250 euros per apartment. And that's for everything. It's for the panels, the inverter, the Sol Share, labor, everything that you need to install a Sol Share system. And that affordability is crucial, because it means the technology is not just reserved for luxury apartments. In fact, one of our biggest markets are social housing providers. And following one of our first ever installations, we were really proud to get the following feedback. We're hearing from our residents that they don't need to worry about electricity bills to keep warm in the winter, as they have accumulated savings from spring to autumn. So with a solution to a global problem, we need a business model that enables us to rapidly expand globally. We're able to achieve this because the SolShare can be installed by traditional solar installers, following some basic online training. So when we enter a new geography, we create a network of certified SolShare installation partners, and then we drive sales to those partners by focusing business development activities on our sales channels. These are predominantly property developers, social housing providers, and asset owners, and electricity retailers. To give an example of a sales cycle, earlier this year, one social housing customer came to us to install solar on 300 of their apartments. Following the success of this, they've now engaged with us to install on the remaining 700 of their apartments in their portfolio. This is just one customer. And so what it does is it explains the sales potential of the solar, of the SolShare, but it also shows the actual social benefit of the SolShare. Because by the end of this year, 1,000 more social households are going to have access to clean, renewable energy generated from their roof and saving vital money on their electricity bill. In addition to this business model, we're also partnering with other industry players like battery manufacturers and smart home solutions providers, who are finally able to go back to their clients and say that they have a solution for apartment solar. We've also been very selective in our €6.5 million fundraising by selecting strategic investors. These include Mirvac, who are one of Australia's largest property developers, Taronga Ventures, who partner with some of the world's largest asset owners, and the Schmidt Family Foundation, who specifically invest in sustainable technologies that help reduce the the energy disparity gap. So in the 3 geographies that we currently operate in, the market for the SolShare is over €45 billion. The growth rate of our company in this final quarter, we've already contracted sales of €720,000, and we've had an 800% year-on-year growth. As well as the exceptional technology, we also have an exceptional team. Ours are split across 3 continents, and we're proud to say that for the past 37 months, we've had no voluntary leavers. This is testament to the passion of the team and has helped us have cohesion and a great team ethos to successfully deliver globally. Thank you very much. I look forward to receiving some questions.
Great. Yeah, thanks for your pitch. So can you tell us how the sales process works and how do you get buy-in from all the tenants in a building?
Yeah, so we have 2 delivery models. So when we're actually selling to a social housing provider or a property developer, that's quite a good sale for us because it means that we have one stakeholder and they often have a large portfolio. So we're able to engage with a single stakeholder and sell multiple units. But if we're looking at more traditional apartments, one of our biggest entries to market is actually through energy retailers who are able to install systems on the roof, and then they charge a reduced rate when selling the solar to those tenants. And what we found is that's a much more beneficial way of installing solar on traditional apartment buildings because essentially it's who'd like to get involved puts their hand up. So we don't have to connect all the apartments. Apartments can join and leave whenever they want. So that's how we get past that barrier of sometimes not everybody wanting to sign up.
Great. And do you use one particular type of solar panels and batteries, or can it be different manufacturers that you integrate?
Absolutely anything. So it can be a wind turbine if it has an inverter with it, any solar panel, any 3-phase inverter, any battery system, AC, DC. That's all sort of shared, communal, and then the power goes into the SolShare, and that gets distributed to the apartments.
Nice. And I heard you're using a lot of Sonnen batteries as well,
yes.
Which are, of course, very intelligent. So why are you using them, and what kind of intelligence do you add on top of that?
So at the moment, we use a group demand to control the batteries discharging and charging. So it works in a similar way as the SolShare. So the SolShare monitors the demand of every single apartment and sends the available solar energy to where it's actually going to be used. So it's a very efficient use of the solar. It's not just idly sending it to all the apartments. So when you include a Sonnen battery, the Sonnen battery monitors how much the group demand of the building is, so it knows when to charge and discharge. And then the SolShare takes the energy when it gets sent it either via the solar or the battery and distributes it to the most appropriate selection of apartments.
Well, sounds great. Good luck with your business and scaling in Europe as well, because that's what you're responsible for, I heard.
Yes, correct.
Great.
Yes.
Well, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Then we go to our next company, which comes from Sweden. And this is a very intriguing company because they are specialized in edge machine learning for IoT devices without having to install any hardware. So it's a pure software solution. So John and Lynn from Sweden are going to explain us how that works.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for the introduction. I am Lynn Sidal, Head of Business Development at Ekkono.
And I'm John Linden, CEO and co-founder of Ekkono.
And at SET, you've said it yourself already, the next big global driver is digitalization, and digitalization of physical things equals IoT. Juniper Research predicted we will have 83 billion connected devices by 2024. Everything, large to small, from trucks and gas turbines down to car components and even running shoes.
Still, I don't think that most people have really understood the true potential of IoT, because it's not in connecting things and collecting data. Because even though Google and Facebook make it look simple to capitalize on data, it's extremely hard. So instead, the true potential comes from extending the relationship with your products to after they leave the factory, which means that you can see how they're being used, you can see how they feel, you can help the customer operate them in a more sustainable way, you can upgrade them in the field, you can even sell them as a service. But all of this needs automation and smart, so smart IoT.
And smart IoT actually needs the next global driver that you've highlighted, which is decentralization. And we're used to, for example, personal online shopping experience, and we actually almost expect individualization in everything we do. And this will also happen to physical things.
We will see what we call mass customization of products. So let me give you an example. Air conditioners. Manufacturers of ACs have for decades been optimizing the general design of air conditioners to make them as energy efficient as possible. But that doesn't matter if you run the same settings in Berlin and Kuala Lumpur, if it's summer or winter, if people are in the room or not. What really makes a difference is when you can have it learn the circumstances, the environment, and how to run at its best for the purpose that they are being deployed. That's when you can really start saving on energy. So imagine when we're running every AC, vacuum cleaner, motor, or vehicle as energy efficiently as possible. Then we will have a big impact on the total energy consumption, and the third global driver, decarbonization.
But actually, why stop there? More and more product will be what we call software defined, meaning that if we can upgrade a product in the field, we no longer need to buy new hardware just to get the latest features. And this will reduce strain on the environment, both from a manufacturing perspective, but also from a delivery perspective.
Tesla is already there. When they actually make the vintage irrelevant, because you can download and buy additional features that are being downloaded as software. For example, the parking assistant. Running at its best for where, how, and how much everything is being used equals less fatal wear to the products. And this kind of proactive maintenance, where you avoid actually breaking products, will provide longer product life.
And a longer product life will become necessary, not only from a sustainability perspective, but also from a consumer and business perspective. Because if we look back historically, product has always been at their very best just when leaving the factory, and then they start to deteriorate. In the future, we will ship generic products that start learning from day one, and they will become better and better over time.
This, if anything, is behavior-changing innovation and demand-side disruption, when people actually learn to appreciate that the products are getting better and more customized the more they use them. Imagine the day when people actually look with envy at your 20-year-old car because they know that it knows absolutely everything about how you drive it, your preferences, and how to run at its best at all the time.
So, what does this have to do with us, with Ekkono? It has everything to do with us because we provide the underlying technology that enables all this. Because automation in IoT spells machine learning. And distribution to the individual things and enabling learning based on where and how they are being used. That's edge machine learning.
And we are the leading global pioneer in edge machine learning. Our software is already being used by companies like ABB, Volvo, Siemens Energy, Alfa Laval, Husqvarna, and Sandvik, who use them to provide the smarts that learn how every individual product feels and behaves. It can use it to detect deviations. They can simulate different settings and configurations to have it run as its best, and they're doing all of this in real time across all the products from large down to small. We have a purpose-built, state-of-the-art edge machine learning software that is based on more than 7 years of university research. I will actually be a bit un-Swedish and say that in short, what we provide is the next big sustainability leap.
And the reason for that is that now we've spent time optimizing the general design of products, but we enable optimal use and efficient use of products. And if we take this times the 83 billion connected devices, then we start seeing the potential.
Powered by Ekkono Inside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, great pitch. So, how do you compete with some of the players that are providing open source libraries for machine learning algorithms for edge devices?
Yeah, I can start on that. I mean, first of all, we are truly built for purpose. We are built to run on board small devices. Many of the open source solutions are not. They're built for general machine learning, and we have actually, this is based on research. It's based on 7 years of research, where we actually have developed it so that it runs optimally on the small devices. So that is our biggest upside, I would say, against the open source solutions.
And reality is that our best customers are those who have tried to do it themselves, using open source alternatives of that kind of products, because then they realize the complexity and how we can actually expedite the implementation.
Okay. And for those small devices, there are a lot of different types of devices and a lot of use cases. So can you name one very cool example of a device and a use case?
A device and a use case. I think that the coolest use case that we are doing related to this is the Siemens gas turbine one, where we actually predict the NOx emissions. So we run on board the gas turbines, and by analyzing all the different parameters, because it's a lot, it's not only the gas turbine, it's also the environmental, like the temperature, air humidity and stuff. And if we can use all that to predict NOx emission, we can also help fine-tune the gas turbine to lower the NOx emission. And that's, I think that's my favorite example of a use case that we are doing right now.
Nice. You've already sold your solution to a few of the large OEMs. Mm-hmm. So what are the sales cycles like with these parties?
It changed quite a bit over the years, to be honest. We had to basically educate them at what we're doing. People were not even talking about edge computing when we started. Now they typically have an edge strategy, and we fit into that, so it changes. But we had to go for the big ones because they basically set the stage. Now we're seeing that the next level below and all the way down to other product OEMs of different sizes start to adopt this and start to implement this, and that's the big opportunity.
Great. Well, good luck with your further journey. Thanks very much for this pitch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Then the final contestant in this category is a company from the US. Unfortunately, they're not here, but they are joining us on the screen virtually today. I was quite amazed when I heard this, actually, because this is a company that has a whole product suite of smart home devices that are saving a lot of energy and contributing a lot, and they've sold it to thousands of customers already. And their team is only 7 people. So we're going to hear how that works from Flair.
Great. I think you can see me. I'm not sure if you can see my deck. There we go. Beautiful. Hi, my name's Dan. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Flair. We focus on making buildings more comfortable using less energy. There we go. So we're all on track to shift our electricity generation away from fossil fuels. Now the focus is shifting to electrifying everything to avoid the worst of climate change. And electric car adoption, heat pump installations, they're all scaling up, but there's one central problem. The grid really isn't ready for massive amounts of new electrical demand. And we can't shed most of the carbon-intensive electricity generation from for solar and wind if we can't support demand from that electrification. So while not as sexy as a new Tesla, Electrifying buildings and reducing their emissions is actually just as important. And while cars have the added advantage of a battery to capture electricity at any time of day, buildings often require the most energy at the worst time of the day, when solar is tapering off and when generation hasn't ramped up. It's a perfect storm, has to be solved, and we're going to green our cars, buildings, energy system in the process. The solution is simple. We need to be able to heat and cool buildings more efficiently, but we also need to do so more responsibly so that we can anticipate a squeeze on the grid and avoid heating and cooling not just empty buildings, but avoiding empty rooms too. We also need systems that are resilient so that when there is a squeeze on the grid, we have a backup plan. Flair is that solution. Flair's platform, HVACOS, and our category-leading devices offer buildings room-by-room optimization, a shortcut path to electrification, and an unparalleled load management capability and solution for utilities. Concretely, Flair's patented smart vents offer the only near-instant upgrade to North America's most common heating and cooling system, central heating and cooling, for room-by-room control. And outside the US and Canada, where the most HVAC growth is forecasted, Flair is the only fully wireless connectivity solution for the world's least connected, yet most common HVAC equipment, ductless heat pumps, sometimes called mini-splits. Our software makes energy management simple for occupants, owners, and utilities. And while the most innovative utilities are already collaborating with us, the conservative majority is just starting to think about the criticality of demand flexibility to support the greening of electricity generation. Strategically, that means aggregating distributed energy assets is hugely valuable, but in the short term, the growth is going to need to come from offering something more. Flair has amassed the equivalent of 8 utility-scale solar power plants while selling comfort solutions to its more than 10,000 customers. And beyond deploying over 60,000 devices, we're collaborating with a growing number of leading OEM, distribution, utility, and government partners to accelerate our business and our mission. And while we couldn't be more excited about our traction thus far, our install base represents a tiny fraction of the addressable market. To flip that, in the US alone, there are over 100 million homes with central heating and cooling. And globally, there are over 1.5 billion mini-splits, whose adoption is only accelerating with more and more deadly heat. The market is enormous, but how do we get into it, cost effectively and quickly? It's actually pretty simple. You need a product that people want. You need sound unit economics. You need a competitive advantage. You need a scalable supply chain. And for us, that just means doing more of what's already working, more marketing, more sales, more partnerships. We have an extensive team of experienced builders. We've built consumer hardware and energy systems, having worked at Tesla and Nest, and we've built best-in-class software experiences, having worked at Microsoft and Skype. We're backed by some of the leading climate investors and institutions, like the Rocky Mountain Institute, Lower Carbon Capital, Urban Us, and SOS Ventures, the world's most experienced hardware venture capitalists. We are growing incredibly quickly with the nexus of climate change, the global momentum in electrification, and device connectivity to power the energy revolution. If you're a utility, an investor, or otherwise think that it makes sense for us to connect, we can't wait to answer your questions, and we're really excited to see you at our virtual booth. I want to say, thank you for the Startup Energy Transition team for everything in the platform, and really just excited to be here and hear all the great companies pitching today.
Thank you, Daniel. So, my first question is, what sales channels do you use to sell with only 7 people to tens of thousands of people?
It's a great question. So we actually sort of started in the easiest way possible, which was direct to consumer. And I think that sort of speaks to the strength of our business and our core concept, right? I mean, I think I said at the very beginning, our focus has been on delivering more comfort using less energy. While we love the idea of solving these climate problems, we like to do that actually behind the scenes and sneak that benefit in. And instead, we can go directly to the consumer and offer them true comfort for their home so that they can sleep better, they can be more productive when working, that kind of thing. And so direct to consumer was really this quick path to market that was very efficient. As you pointed out, we're a small team, and buying ads online and getting really good at digital first distribution became essential. As we've grown, we've expanded into wholesale HVAC distribution, the sort of classic heating and cooling installers channel. And then sort of even beyond that, we've just started fielding a ton of inbound from utilities as they realized that connecting these new electrification devices is really critical for them balancing their grid.
All right, thanks. And then what kind of energy savings percentage can you achieve?
Yeah, so I think you pointed this out earlier, but we offer a portfolio of devices for different types of buildings, some residential, some commercial, different types of heating and cooling systems within them. I think one of the ones that we're most excited about is the solution we provide to actually the US's dirtiest housing stock. It's buildings that have oil heating specifically. And we offer a hybridization solution that eliminates essentially 80% of on-site emissions in favor of heat pumps, but doesn't require full building electrification. So it's a really low CapEx install and a very efficient OpEx with a really low carbon outcome. So we see about an 80% reduction there. And of course, the more heat pumps they install, the more we can push that towards 100. But that's something we're really excited about.
Nice. And you have quite a few different products that you're selling, and in each of those categories, of course, there is some competition. So, overall, how would you state your USPs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, for one, we actually have a patent on a few of our devices, so that's kind of an exciting place to be. We've had some competitors that were really well funded. And, I think one of the core capacities of our team is that we led with really strong engineering and science. And I think that ended up sort of providing resiliency. We surpassed a lot of competitors early on that were much better funded, much bigger teams, just by building quite literally a better product. Beyond that, I think, the answer is always that a large corporate or someone else, right, with deep pockets can compete in the global market. I think the hardest thing to compete with for any business is momentum. And that's something that we have a lot of right now. So, beyond having maybe some patents and some special relationships in different markets, I think the biggest thing we've got going for us is just we're sort of firing on all cylinders and moving really quickly.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for dialing in from the US and for your pitch.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, that wraps up the fourth category. So now we go into the final category of today's pitch sessions, which is a very special category. So I'm very happy that this is part of the competition each year. It is about quality access to energy and the SDG-7, which means basically companies that are enabling clean energy for everybody in the world, so accessible for all. So the first company is a very interesting company from Germany, and they are using clean energy for making clean water. They both have a B2B solution with very large installations and a smaller B2C solution, water kiosk. And the strange thing is that everything has been financed by one person so far, all equity. So it's already quite a large company. So very interesting to hear more from Hamed.
Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon to you. So I'm presenting here Boreal Light and the project of Boreal Light that is called Water Kiosk. The problem we started tackling in this market, the part that we decided to really bring all focus and all specialty on renewables, is the access to water. And this water can be different sources. So imagine this green canister in the bucket, not treated, polluted water from minerals, bacteria, viruses. And the cost of this water in an off-grid part of the world, let's say focus in East Africa, costs $10 for 1,000 liters of such quality water that there is no actually basic quality standards for it. And not just drinking water. Climate change. We keep talking about climate change and renewables as a part of mitigation for climate change. Look at this picture. The part that was irrigated, you see the accumulation of salt there. The part that is not irrigated, you see the vegetations there. Salt intrusion into the boreholes is one of the key challenges of agricultural sector now in the world, and it's growing more and more people are leaving their farms because they cannot do any more farming. When we are talking about hygiene drinking water, this is the quality of water I'm focusing on. This quality of water, 20 liters of it, in a market like East Africa, costs $4. $4 for 20 liters of this hygiene quality drinking water means 1,000 liters of such water is $200 in a market that you can easily hire a person full-time job for $80, $90. Imagine. Then we came up to our solution. A simple, affordable solar water desalination system that has the three characteristics: running directly on solar energy, no battery, no pressure storage, nothing. Direct sun energy to the machine, photovoltaic. Second, simplicity. We made a mature technology of reverse osmosis simple for the locals so they can easily operate and maintain. And then affordability, which is the actual result of these two factors. And the simplicity. 80% of the maintenance of this machine in the remotest part of the planet needs just these two tools: a wrench and a screwdriver. You are done. A normal plumber in a village is done with 80% of the maintenance. The other 20% is needed every 5 years, every 3 years. You can imagine how much of impact that one creates. Then it comes to the affordability. When you run such a machine in front of the ocean from the very saline source, producing hygiene drinking water that all of us we are drinking, the cost of 1,000 liters of water produced by our machine would not be anything more than 50 cents. 1,000 liters for 50 cents. Again, you can imagine how much of impact it brings the productive use of renewables into those communities. Then we started selling water, not just the machine. We started selling water, and the two columns that you see there, you can compare it to the common prices of the water, hygiene drinking water in that market. In village communities, we are selling water for 10 cents per 20 liter. In urban communities, for $1 for 20 liter. And it's not just technology. As a circular economy and social business is the backbone of our business model. So we bring our machine into the heart of a village. From one side, we get the raw water. From one side, delivering drinking, irrigation, fish farm, and sanitation water. In fact, the wastewater of the machine is what is going for the fish farm and sanitation water. So no need to dump the wastewater. We can create use of that wastewater. Just quick overview of some of the projects. So this is the way that our water kiosks look like. The water kiosks that have their machines inside. The machine that is produced, manufactured in Berlin, and it's now all over Africa, East Africa, West Africa. So then these are our farms. You can see simple vertical farms, drip line farms, and also simple fish tanks, providing affordable, high-protein food to the locals. Look at the faces of our operators. Neither of the operators here is older than 20 years old. Zaytoun, the lady on the green, she was 16 years old when she joined us. She could operate the machine, maintain the machine, selling water, managing the project. If it wasn't simple, we couldn't have this type of people. This is a layout of one of our projects. So you see the solar panels, you see the water selling point, you see the fish tanks, vertical farm, nursery, and sanitation center. And not just the simplicity of the machine is the key, also the complex side of it is we are doing 24 hours, 7 days a week, detailed remote monitoring of the machine. So 36 vital elements of the machine, we are reading them live from Berlin. So we know what is happening in the machine and we can help the operators. And we are saving big amount of CO2. Already 41 of our projects have been financed through sales of carbon credit. You can imagine the way that this type of finance can help our project. Now we are focused in this part of the world, mainly the stronghold in East Africa. This is our first assembly hall. Actually, just a few days ago, we celebrated the opening of it. This assembly hall is in Nairobi, covering the eastern coast of the continent. Soon, Accra would also receive for the western coast of the continent. And we started 6 years ago in Berlin. Now we are all over, and in 2025, we would have 1,000 systems of us installed and running in Africa. Thank you so much.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I'm wondering, how do you combine the small-scale B2C business with the large-scale B2B business? What are the synergies?
Actually, the synergies is, let's say, differentiated between the two companies. So the company in Berlin, solely working on the B2B. not dealing with the B2C. And Water Kiosk, as another entity with the same founders, is dealing with the B2C. So completely differentiated them because the nature, services, finance, everything is different.
Okay. But you're managing both, and you can split your time between them.
Yes, exactly. Actually, we have the different teams, different boards for different companies, so it's not a one-man show. For sure, there are partners, there are board people that they are supporting both businesses to go. But I can tell you, on the B2B, we are just 17 people. On the B2C, we are 300, plus 300 people. You can imagine the reason.
Nice, and most of them are based in Africa?
Yeah. The B2C, 100% of them in Africa, except myself moving in between.
Nice. And why did you choose not to use any debt financing or leverage?
I could study many of the startups of Berlin. I'm living in Berlin. So I've seen many failed stories of startups. You know, friend of us, I talked to them. I could see most of them, they were tackled from this weak point that they got big monies, they couldn't answer the financiers. So we said, instead of that, let's stand on our own feet. And by the way, all of the banks and finance organizations in Berlin rejected us. All of them without an exception.
Wow.
Without an exception. I sold my house for this work. When I received the last rejection from Sparkasse, then my partner said I would bring all the saving of my life. I talked to my wife, thanks to her. She accepted. We sold our house, and then we financed the company ourselves.
Nice, that's a huge commitment.
Yeah,
so
it was a dream.
What is your dream? So where's this company going to be in 5 years from now?
I'm living my dream actually now. So this was a long dream for me, being the waterman. When a villager called me, the waterman is here. This is the absolute dream I had in my life. So I'm living my dream. Let's say just this dream, this reality is getting bigger. Now we are growing in Central South America. We are growing in East Asia. And that's the way it's going.
Nice. Well, I hope that your dream goes on for a long time.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good time.
Bye.
Thanks.
Great. Then the next category, or the next company in this category, is a company from the US. Actually, I'm quite glad that in this category there are quite a few female founders also in the management teams, which is still quite rare for tech companies. So Kate from Nithio is going to explain to us what her credit risk analytics platform does and how that is going to save the planet.
Thanks very much. So I'm Kate Steele. I'm the co-founder and COO of Nithio. I'm coming from Washington, D.C. I'm very sorry to not be there in person. You can, even from this distance, feel the energy in the room, and really exciting to see what everyone else is doing. So we'll get started with the pitch. As I said, I'm co-founder and COO of Nithio. Nithio is trying to address the great problem of energy access, specifically in Africa. We believe that universal access to energy is achievable. There's already products in the market that exist, energy access technologies like solar home systems and similar things that can reach everyone that needs to gain access to electricity. By our estimate, about half the people even currently who are off-grid are able to afford a system if it's financed. So this market should be scaling on its own, and it's not. It's not scaling to the point that is needed to reach everyone. And we realized that the reason that was not scaling was this inability to understand consumer credit risk and understand ability to pay for the services. And so we look at the customer level and see that makes it difficult for the operators, these distributors who are selling systems, to really understand their customers and understand their cash flows into their company. If they have trouble understanding that, it's really hard to convince investors to come into the market as well, not at the scale that's needed. And so the implications of this are pretty extreme. I think we see that there are households, smallholder farmers, entrepreneurs who are really left vulnerable to the impacts of climate change because they don't have these types of technologies, as well as it puts at risk the ability to achieve universal access to electricity. And just to highlight what we see as the state of the world without things like Nithio is investment in the space has really stagnated. If you look over the past 5 years, there's really been about kind of $300 million per year invested in off-grid energy. That's great. It's good that money is flowing in, but we need billions, and we need to unlock those billions. And we believe Nithio is the answer to that. So Nithio is an AI-driven platform for clean energy investment. We've developed a model for standardizing credit risk assessment, and we believe this will catalyze billions of dollars of capital that's needed to partly address the climate change impacts that we're already seeing, as well as achieve universal access. And so what does that mean? So Nithio has a risk analytics engine that we've developed. We use data analytics to understand better this ability to pay. And we use that to offer, one, insights and information to other investors in the space, but also for our own purposes to deploy a blended finance vehicle to distributors who are then on lending to households. So if you think about looking at the right side of the slide, there are households that have high ability to pay, and then there are also households that will never be reached without public support or additional support to make the system affordable. We take different forms of capital, look at our model for what types of households that are out there, and can offer financing that actually matches those needs, ensuring both that private sector money can come into the sector, as well as that no one is left behind. So where we are now and where we're going, in 2021, we've got $23 million in assets under management, lending in 3 countries, Nigeria, Kenya, and Uganda. We've deployed 4 loans, and we have a large pipeline of companies that we're working with. And we offer receivables and inventory-backed financing for these types of energy access technologies. And I said also offering these insights to other investors in the space, ensuring that we really unstick the billions that are needed in capital. And where we're going in the near term, and by 2025, we expect to have deployed over $100 million, reaching more than 3.5 million people with 700,000 off-grid energy technologies. Significant impacts on the emission side through diesel displacement, as well as in the jobs created and the additional income to households that are reached by these systems. On our path to scale, we've already started with the assets under management and starting to deploy loans. And the goal is to raise an additional, double our assets under management by early next year, so an additional 25 million. Continuing to define the optimal structures for deploying these loans, as well as making sure we're working with partners that we're really setting the standard for risk assessment in the space. Intend to be by 2029, by the end of the decade, deploying $500 million and rolling out our model from the initial markets of Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda across all of sub-Saharan Africa. We are raising funding for this vehicle. We're looking for partners on blended finance in order to reach these households. We're an open-ended vehicle looking for a number of partners to work with. And we have a fantastic team, so we're looking to scale this up. And really, we do believe that universal access is achievable. We do believe that financing is the key to unlocking that. And we think that data analytics are the way to unlock that financing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sounds like a very clever model. Can you say something about the revenue streams that you are making as a company out of this?
Sure, absolutely. So we have 2 revenue streams. One is from the asset financing itself, from the financing we offer to distributors. The other is from the analytic services that we offer, both on a contract basis, but then as kind of a discrete project, but then on an ongoing basis that, as I said, we want to set a new standard for how you do credit risk assessment. We think that's really the key to unlocking financing. So we want everyone to be using our models, and we're providing that as a service to other lenders in the space.
Great. And what part of your revenue is currently still consultancy, and when will that change to kind of fully recurring revenue?
Sure, it's changing currently. We've been doing to date a lot of more bespoke consulting type arrangements. And have started onboarding clients on a recurring basis. We have recurring revenue on the asset financing already, and then have started the first contracts for recurring revenue on the analytics side as well.
Nice. And currently you're only operating in Africa. Is that also the plan for the future, or do you plan to go beyond Africa as well?
Absolutely. So the models that Nithio uses are applicable for energy access, but also broader for any technologies, as well as our data capabilities. Right now, we see the most significant need for energy access in Africa. Estimates are by 2030, 90% of the people who are off-grid will be in Africa. However, the underlying models are applicable everywhere else that we could want to go. So we have already looked at markets in South Asia and Southeast Asia.
You've already raised $23 million for assets and planning to raise a lot more, I saw. So how much have you raised for your own company so far, and how much are you planning to raise for that?
So for our company, we've raised money twice already. We're at what you would call Series A or Series B stage right now. We have fantastic backers that we've worked with to date, and we're actually raising our Series B to continue to grow right now.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for dialing in all the way from America. Good luck with this company.
Thanks. I'm very sorry to miss it in person. Thank you.
Then finally, we move to our last company of today, which is an amazing company from India. And this company has found a solution to use renewable energy to reduce waste at farms across India and ultimately beyond, hopefully. So we're going to hear from Nithio about S4S technologies in India.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Nidhi Pant, and I'm the co-founder and finance lead at S4S. S4S stands for Science for Society. From your farm to your marketplace, there are a lot of losses that the farmers face. That is due to lack of market access, infrastructure being very poor, distant markets. Lot of times the cost of transportation is greater than the value of the produce, and ultimately the farmer throws their produce in the market. Can you go to the next slide? At S4S, we have found a solution to convert these farm losses to value added products by intervention of solar powered food processing systems. We deploy our patented solar powered dehydrators at the farm gate, equipping landless women farmers who are dependent on rain fed agriculture to use these machines to process their produce at the farm gate itself. Earlier, if you see the stakeholders in the processing ecosystem, either it's done in large factories and the growers are different. The farmers only grows the produce but is not the processors of the produce. We help these farmers graduate to be entrepreneurs by providing them this equipment. We also realize that this is only one sort of ways in which our farmers could be benefited. So we also provide them the market access. So we not only provide the equipment, but also buy back the food from the equipment, providing an assured additional income of $1,000 to $1,500 to our micro entrepreneurs. 100% of our supply chain is powered by women entrepreneurs. When we aggregate this produce, we do quality check at a central facility and take this produce to large corporate and serve food ingredients to them. So any dehydrated garlic, ginger, any sort of in your noodles or oats which you see dehydrated products are supplied by our micro entrepreneurs. Currently, we are operational only in India, but soon would want to expand both on the market side and also on the farmers end. Can you go to the next slide? The typical women entrepreneur that we were working with had no access to initial capital that she can actually put in her business. It's dependent on either her husband or and the money is also not coming into her hands. With this assured processing income that she gets, she's now graduated to become the decision maker of the in the family and earns an assured income that helps us invest in the right building of her family, and can also do this job just by being at home. Can you go to the next slide? Our equipment, which is solar powered dehydrators, are deployed in 15 countries, and the number is more than 2,500. We are the most highest energy efficient dehydration equipment as compared to other coal based or wood based dryers, with substantially lower capital cost. The nutritional content is also not lost in the during dehydration, and we retain 85 to 95% of nutrition along with aroma, color, whatever is required for the food industry. Can you go to the next slide? In 3 ways, we are reducing carbon emission. First is by reducing food waste, by preventing it. Second is by processing where we produce, that is, and using the same energy for preservation is used for processing. And all of this, once we have volume reduction, there is no need of greater transportation of the produce. Fresh produce needs higher transportation. In a dehydrated, where there's volume reduction, it reduces the need for transportation much lesser. Next slide. We currently are working with 8,000 micro entrepreneurs. All of them are financed by the bank and non-banking financial institutions, processing more than 40,000 tons of produce annually with more than 1,200 market linkage customers who have need of this produce, and save more than 300,000 tons of CO2 from entering the environment. Next slide. We are growing at 10% month on month, and by 2025 we aim to reduce at least 2 million tons of CO2 from entering environments with having 5,000 micro entrepreneurs in our supply chain. Can you go to the next slide? We have multiple partners in either market linkage partners or the asset financing partner that actually help us give an assured income to these micro entrepreneurs. Can you go to the next slide? Thus, you see our impact is first at the environment level, where we are reducing food wastage and using solar power technology to process the produce in a decentralized manner in the villages itself. Also providing livelihood and jobs to these micro entrepreneurs in the village. And more than that, giving the money directly into the hand of women so that they are better decision makers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nidhi, for this very nice presentation of your company. So could you say in like 2 sentences, how do you differentiate from the competition?
2 ways. We have 2 types of competitors. One competitor is directly at the farm gate, who's competing to provide other livelihood options or taking the produce of the farmer. There we are different because we are giving them processing opportunity, a value addition to their income. We are not selling fresh produce but value added product. And on the product end, we are where we supply to the food and beverage industry. We are technical vendors to them. We are just not any vendors. We give end-to-end traceability, our product, our nutrient dense. We have R&D capabilities to co-work with them and develop the product and take it from lab to farm, giving them complete affordability, convenience, and reliability of supply.
Excellent. And what sales channels do you use to reach all these thousands of farmers?
We partner with government bodies, non-profit organizations, and also have various centers at the village where the women entrepreneurs can come and can know about our technology and get the demo. And we have more than 3,500 women entrepreneurs waiting in the waiting list who want to come and join the our program. So our sales channels is one is through partnership, second is through demo, and third is through word of mouth and referrals from the current and existing micro entrepreneurs.
Great. Well, thank you so much for dialing in from India. And well, fingers crossed that you win the competition tonight. Let's see.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. We could not be in person, but we are grateful to everyone at Startup Energy Transition to help us move forward in this journey and for all the support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, Nidhi. Great. Well, this was the end of it already. So these were the 15 pitches that we've heard today that are competing for these final prizes that are standing here. So tonight at the award ceremony, we're going to find out who are the 5 winners of the prize money and the fame and glory. And so some of the jury members already voted yesterday based on the content and the questions that were asked to these finalists, and that they answered very well. And some of the other jury members still need to choose based on the pitches today. So it's still very exciting. I personally have no idea because I thought all of them were very high quality. So tune in tonight. So it's going to be a big party here with more than 300 people, I heard, here in Berlin. So if you can, join us. And if not, dial in at 7 p.m. tonight to hear who are going to be the winners of this SETTech Award 2021.